All right, guys, happy Monday. Actually, it's been kind of a weekend of me shouting over the internet if you follow me on Twitter, or X rather, because something extremely important happened over the weekend that every single person in the world should be speaking about. And that is that Pavel Durov, the founder of the messaging app Telegram, has been arrested in France, ostensibly for not allowing the government to build a backdoor into his social media app, really allowing them to build a backdoor into our lives. Plus, and somehow kind of relatedly, Justin Bieber just had a child, and I am convinced that he is himself trying to exit Hollywood, but the gang that runs Hollywood, I know I'm not supposed to say that, not supposed to say that there's a gang, can't imply that, are not allowing him to. I noticed some very interesting hit pieces about him. We're going to talk about that. And in sports, Brittany Mahomes has an attitude. She liked a Trump post, and people are angry at her, and she doesn't care, and I am here for that. All of that is what is coming up on Candace. All right, so I'm going to slow this down in case you're like me and you're not on all of the apps. Telegram is actually one app that I am not on. But let me tell you something about it. It is huge. It is one of the world's biggest social media and messaging platforms. It has 950 million active users monthly. I'll tell you a little bit about it because it's important to understand the backstory here. It was founded in 2013 by a Russian man named Pavel Durov. Pavel Durov is something of, I guess I would refer to him as a technological renegade. He really believes in free speech. Imagine that. So initially, his backstory is that he was running this wildly popular social media app in Russia, where he's from. And that app was called V Kontakte, forgive my really poor Russian there, until the government then started putting pressure on him, the Russian government. They were like, listen, we don't like all of these opposition communities that are running. We want you to squash them on our behalf. We don't want anybody running opposed to the Russian state in their ideas. So guess what Pavel Durov decided to do? He said, goodbye, Russia. Keep this app. I'll build a new one because I believe in free speech. And he created Telegram. It was only born for 1 year, and then he was out of Russia, took that new app with him. So you're probably thinking, where did he go? Candace, he must have come to America. It's so obvious America has free speech, right? So they tell us we have free speech. We are the land of the free. If you are escaping the oppression of Russia, then of course you would want to come to America and maybe join Silicon Valley and go to lunches with Jack Dorsey and Mark Zuckerberg, everyone else who really believes in this idea of freedom and free speech. Except, he did come to America. He came to America a few times, and he kind of got a different experience. I'm going to allow you to listen to him tell Tucker Carlson exactly what happened when he came to America. Take a listen.
There's this second part, which was probably more alarming there in the U.S. We got too much attention from the FBI, the security agencies, wherever we came to the U.S. So to give you an example, last time I was in the U.S., I brought an engineer that is working for Telegram, and there was an attempt to secretly hire my engineer behind my back by cybersecurity officers or agents, wherever they are called.
The U.S. government tried to hire your engineer?
That's my understanding. That's what he told me.
To write code for them or to break into Telegram?
They were curious to learn which open source libraries are integrated to the Telegram's app, on the client side, and they were trying to persuade him to use certain open source tools that he would then integrate into the Telegram's code that, in my understanding, would serve as backdoors.
Would allow the U.S. government to spy on people who use Telegram?
The U.S. government, or maybe any other government, because a backdoor is a backdoor regardless of who is using it.
That's right.
So just to reiterate there, he came over to America, the land of the free, had some amazing technology, was protecting users' privacy, and the state approached one of his engineers and were like, hey, what if you did a deal with us? What if you worked for us? What if you just created sort of a backdoor so that we could spy on, and I love that he points out that maybe more than America, because I think we're all comprehending that we are not that free. And there is, in fact, a global elite. I believe the governments are working with one another in the West. It is just a globalized governance, so to speak. And they wanted access to Telegram for a lot of reasons. So you guess what Pavel did? He decided, actually, I'm going to run this company from Dubai, which is so interesting because if you just think of our American depictions of the Middle East, we think of it as so oppressed, no freedom. Why would anybody want to actually live there? And yet here you have this tech renegade, and he ups and he moves to Dubai, and he decides to run his company from the UAE because he imagines that to be one of the only places where there might be any protection for him to simply allow users to communicate and message one another without having the government breathing over their necks. Now, here is where Pavel potentially made a mistake. It turns out that he also holds a citizenship in France. So he's also a French citizen. And he imagined himself being able to travel to France without anything happening, maybe because he doesn't understand what we have come to understand, which is that all of these countries are working together. So Pavel Durov, and this is now a headline in the New York Times, the 39-year-old, he's that young, founder of the app Telegram, was taken into custody by French authorities over the weekend. Here is the background story. He was arrested at Le Bourget airport near Paris after landing on a private plane from Azerbaijan, according to French news reports. The French judicial official said on Sunday evening that his time in custody has now been extended. Now, under French law, the initial 24 hours that you're supposed to be detained in custody can be extended up to 96 hours, depending on the seriousness of the criminal accusations. Representatives of the French police and the Interior Ministry declined to comment. In a statement on Telegram, the company, that's Telegram, said that Telegram abides by all of the EU laws and said that Pavel Durov has absolutely nothing to hide. Now, this article also notes that Mr. Durov's arrest has very little precedent. While the EU and the United States government have summoned and questioned leaders of other social media firms, rarely has a major tech leader been arrested over what takes place on such sites. Now, there might be a reason for that, by the way. Elon Musk would like a word, certainly, because people were pointing that out. They were going, wait a second, haven't I heard that, there's Facebook and there's Meta, and they were in trouble at one point because people said that there was child exploitation on the site. Don't all these sites have the potential for bad people to get on them and do things? Why are they going after Pavel Durov? And here's what Elon Musk actually tweeted in response to that. He basically just flagrantly called out Mark Zuckerberg as a sellout. Basically wrote this because he already caved into censorship pressure. Instagram has a massive child exploitation problem, but no arrest for Zuck as he censors speech and gives governments backdoor access to user data. So if you're wondering what the charges are, what did this guy do? What are they just going to make up? This is a theme. I mean, all last week we've been talking about how if they want you, they're going to get you. You're not going to believe the audacity of these charges, particularly in France. We'll get to that. So they are charging him for complicity. It's not that he's doing anything wrong. He is just complicit in things that are being done that are wrong. He is complicit in enabling illegal transactions by organized groups. He's complicit in a refusal to communicate at the request of competent authorities, these are his real charges, informations or documents necessary for carrying out and operating interceptions allowed by law. He is complicit in possessing pornographic images of minors. There it is. You got to always throw in the pedophile thing so that the public just goes, oh, well, it must be true. This arrest must make sense. He's also complicit, another charge, in distributing, offering, or making available pornographic images of minors in organized groups. Are you outraged yet? Don't you see that they had to make this arrest? They also have complicit in acquiring, transporting, possessing, offering, or selling narcotic substances. So that's a very long rap sheet. I'm only reading you a few here, but you get it. Gosh, once again, we have a guy who, and this time he's just complicit in child exploitation, pedophilia, and human trafficking. They love to stick that on men who are a threat to them, right? Who are a threat to the establishment. When we say the establishment, we're talking about the deep state. And when we say the deep state, what we're referring to is a gang, okay? Write your stupid little headlines about Candace Owens. Oh my God, he's just implying that there's a gang. It is obvious that there is a gang, a very big gang. Actually, it's really not that big, but they've amassed quite a bit of power, that there is a global elite operating in Western society, okay? And you can see this. Their demands are as such. You either play ball with them. We are the state, okay? Or we will take you down. And remarkably, their strategy, which is so tried and true, is that they will accuse you of exactly what it is that they are doing. I mean, the audacity of referring to Pavel Durov as someone who is complicit in abetting pedophilia. That's what they said. That's what the French Secret Service, the French state would like us to believe under the authority of Emmanuel Macron. A human being, a child who was statutorily raped back when he was a child by his husband, Brigitte Macron. Yes, yeah, there is Brigitte Macron. I will say this until I'm blue in the face. Brigitte Macron is a man. He transitioned. His name used to be Jean-Michel Trogneux, and then he became Brigitte. And when Brigitte was 40 years old, and no one will counter this fact in the media, instead they just call it a conspiracy theory, because that's what it's always, just call everybody names. It's a conspiracy theory. But the reality is that, yes, Brigitte Macron statutorily raped Emmanuel Macron. So if the state actually cared about stomping out people that were aiding and abetting pedophilia, aiding and abetting crimes against minors, then you would not have Emmanuel Macron and Brigitte Macron in office. That is the reality. And then there's the audacity of Emmanuel Macron tweeting, because obviously people were outraged on Twitter, as we should be. And he wrote this: "I have seen false information regarding France following the arrest of Pavel Durov. France is deeply committed to freedom of expression and communication, to innovation and the spirit of entrepreneurship. It will remain so. In a state governed by the rule of law, freedoms are upheld within a legal framework, both on social media and in real life, to protect citizens and respect their fundamental rights. It is up to the judiciary in full independence to enforce the law. The arrest of the president of Telegram on French soil took place as part of an ongoing judicial investigation. It is in no way a political decision. It is up to the judges to rule on the matter." I mean, you've just absolutely got to be kidding me. Like I said, it's like he just forgets himself. He forgets who he's married to. He also doesn't want you to know other things that go on in his state. Here's just one example. Later on this week, we are going to have for you an interview. I interviewed Xavier Poussard. He was the person who broke the tremendous 3-year-long investigation, the story of who, in fact, Brigitte Macron actually is or was. And remarkably, the state, because they can't go after him for defamation because he told the truth, has decided to go back to a piece that he wrote 3 years ago and to accuse him of violating laws regarding, you're not going to believe me, anti-Semitism. I'm not kidding. I promise you. Yeah, they said he wrote an article over 3 years ago, and in the article, he was speaking about media power, and he didn't even say, this is according to him, the word Jewish. He just named the people that hold all of the media power in France. And so now they've opened an investigation into Xavier Poussard, a little late, but better late than never, because he might be an anti-Semite. Are we noticing some trends here? Are we noticing some themes? Are we noticing that a lot of people who have the courage to call out what is happening in this society are always hit with the same exact smears, right? If you're a man, you better look out, because it's human sex trafficking, it's pedophilia, right? They're going to accuse you of some sort of an abuses. You're going to be a part of the Me Too movement. You're going to get smeared, all of us, as conspiracy theorists, racists, homophobes, anti-Semitism. Is anybody else noticing a theme here? And I've got to say, there's just nothing that makes me laugh harder than the idea that the state is combating and not themselves abetting pedophilia. It's like I wasn't even alive for the Jeffrey Epstein scandal. Were you guys alive? Was I alive? Was that a dream? Okay, never mind. Maybe I also wasn't alive and I never read the BuzzFeed piece that was published back in 2021. So in case you're not aware of what piece that is, I'm going to show this to you now and basically skim through it, because I covered this extensively on my old show, but it's important enough that every single person should read it so that you really get a grip on who it is that is running our government, our global government. This is the headline. The article is entitled "Secret CIA Files Say Staffers Committed Sex Crimes Involving Children." Okay. Unbelievably, and you can see the print below it, declassified CIA Inspector General reports show a pattern of abuse and a repeated decision by federal prosecutors not to hold the agency personnel accountable. Okay, so people working in the CIA. This article took years for the authors to write because they had to go through a series of FOIA requests. And here is just a little excerpt from that article. It's just a few excerpts from that article. Over the past 14 years, the CIA has secretly amassed credible evidence that at least 10 of its employees and contractors committed sexual crimes involving children. Though most of these cases are referred to the U.S. attorneys for prosecution, only one of the individuals was ever charged with a crime. Prosecutors sent the rest of the cases back to the CIA to handle internally. You guys decide what you want to do, meaning few faced any consequences beyond the possible loss of their jobs and security clearances. CIA insiders say the agency resists prosecution of its staff for fear the cases will reveal state secrets. I'm sorry, is pedophilia a state secret? One employee had sexual contact with a 2-year-old and a 6-year-old. He was fired. A second employee purchased 3 sexually explicit videos of young girls filmed by their mothers. He was given the opportunity to resign. A third employee estimated that he had viewed up to 1,400 sexually abusive images of children while on agency assignments. The records do not say what action, if any, the CIA took against him. A contractor who arranged for sex with an undercover FBI agent posing as a child had his contract revoked. So what exactly is going on, you guys? What exactly is going on? So, like I said, maybe we're really living in this reality where people are losing their minds, this is falling into some sort of an amnesia, don't really recognize that if the state wanted to prosecute these sorts of crimes, then maybe we'd have an answer for why Diddy hasn't yet been arrested. Are we supposed to forget about that? Yes, we were supposed to forget about that. I know. That was when I really started getting in trouble this year, when I looked into that case, and it was just the most credible thing I've ever seen with video documentation, photo documentation, person who worked with him saying, this is what happens. It's drugs, it's sex parties, it's drugging people intentionally. You're collecting all this blackmail. And what happened? Well, they raided Diddy's house 4 months ago, but no charges have been brought against him, even though we watched him beat Cassie on his ex-girlfriend, longtime girlfriend, on camera. We can't go after Diddy right now. And of course, we also can't go after the pornographers. We know that what is happening on these websites like Pornhub. This is a real CNN headline. Pornhub's parent company admits it profited from sex trafficking. And by the way, the DOJ didn't bring about this case because, well, obviously they're involved in sex trafficking, but they were basically had their hands forced to bring about this case because a young woman named Layla put together an organization and went after them. And she was really tough on this and eventually got the public to pay attention to the fact that children were on this website after having been sex trafficked. And what was the result, by the way, in case you're wondering? They got a slap on the wrist. They had to pay a $1.5 million fine, the parent company of Pornhub. That's what happened. They simply had to pay a fine and agree to like a 3-year probation, and that in the future they would comply harder. Yeah, you just have to comply. They decided to defer prosecution altogether under the agreement. So I'll ask the question, who in the world is buying that the reason that they have arrested Pavel Durov is because they're concerned about sex trafficking? Who's also even buying the drug trafficking bit? Am I the only person who remembers learning about the Iran-Contra scandal when our CIA, between 1981 and 1986, the senior administration was quite literally caught facilitating drug sales and arms sales because, we were doing what we do, trying to overthrow a government. We were trying to fund a group of rebels in Nicaragua. And this happens over and over and over again, but I guess the American public, or at least a small contingent of the American public, still believes that what they see on the movies is real. Like that El Chapo is the #1 drug dealer, and thank goodness our government took him out. Now, our government only takes out their own competition, just to be clear, because it's a gang. They're the gang that won, okay? So they will lie, they will steal, they will literally do anything to take our money. They even at one point in one of the charges, it speaks about the potential to money launder on a Telegram app. That is just incredible. That is just incredible. If you've been paying attention to how many times our government said, oopsies, we can't audit where all of the money's going. We're taking your taxes. You better pay them or we'll lock you up. But we can't tell you where we're spending it. They are the money launderers. They are the drug traffickers. They are the sex traffickers. And they kill anybody who gets in their way or they imprison them. And so what we have right now and why this case is so important is that it is happening to Pavel Durov. They are moving inward, okay? And it was, I think, David Sachs who predicted via a list they'll go after TikTok. They did. TikTok is now one of the most censored social media apps. They said that he predicted that they would go after Telegram. They have now gone after Telegram. Why you should be outraged is because they are after us. It is us that they are after. They want to be able to control everything. Who still believes these stupid stories like social network? Oh, I'm sure that's how it happened in a Harvard dorm. Nope. It was a CIA op, obviously, but they always sell it to people in Hollywood, right? They use Hollywood films to convince you that the way things happened were just so miraculous. Everybody's just building a social media app in their garage. YouTube, Google, what garages are these, right? And then they face really no opposition whatsoever to the government because they are the government. All of these apps are being controlled by the government because ultimately what they want to do is they want to control us. They want to make sure that they actually have no competition. It is actually capitalists that demand socialism, right? Because they don't ever want to have to compete. And because they can't compete in the free markets themselves, what they do is they overregulate and they overprosecute. And so every person who has a social media app should be speaking out against what is happening to Pavel Durov. We should be outraged by what's happening to Pavel Durov. And we should also be coming to the recognition that the West has never been free. Okay, I feel like that illusion is now dissipating. It's been high time for it to dissipate, okay? It's just been sort of managed. The illusion has been managed, like I said, by Hollywood, making you think that all of these stories and freedom and America is this place. We are seeing more and more that that is not the circumstance. And there's really very few corners of the earth that you can run to where you can truly be free. And so the time to start speaking out now, because I'm telling you guys, it's not much left here. There's just not much time left. And definitely pray for Pavel Durov. I know that I certainly will be doing exactly that. All right, guys, I do want to pause here and thank one of our sponsors. You know, I love Preborn. The work that they are doing is so important. We know that Planned Parenthood, that is their competition. They're raking in billions despite having dwindling clients. The biggest takeaway is that Planned Parenthood is generating vast profits, which includes millions in taxpayer funding. But with Preborn, that is you and me, we get to actively steal their clientele, meaning that we get to rescue the lives of babies. Preborn operates on a very slim budget, rescuing over 200 babies' lives every single day with no government funding. Preborn's network of clinics are situated, as you can imagine, in the darkest corners of the nation, competing head-to-head with the abortion giants, and they need our help now more than ever. When you donate $28 to Preborn, you will offer a free ultrasound to an expectant mother that is caught in a crisis, because once she hears that heartbeat and sees that precious life, her baby's chance at life doubles. So sponsor a precious baby's life today. Your tax-deductible gift will go directly towards saving babies' lives. You just dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby. That's pound 250 baby. Or you can go to preborn.com/Candace. That's preborn.com/Candace. Okay, I would like to cover the Justin Bieber story because I think there is more going on here than meets the eye, and I'll explain to you why. Okay, so Justin Bieber, just so you guys know, he had a baby. Wonderful, amazing. Him and Hailey Bieber. I guess Hailey technically had the baby, obviously. And they named that baby Jack Blues Bieber. Congratulations. They shared a photo on Instagram on August 23rd, and the internet exploded with happiness for them. But it was actually something else that caught my eye about this pregnancy and this birth. And it was that leading up to it, just a few weeks before they gave birth. So Hailey Bieber was very pregnant. Suddenly, there were a series of attacks on her and attacks on their marriage. And I'm just giving you just like one of these, showing you, I guess, a bunch of these headlines that came out, essentially saying that Justin Bieber was miserable and that Hailey was blowing through millions of his fortune on her wild luxuries, including a second engagement ring that was worth $1.5 million. You can see another one here in the corner says Bieber having marriage issues, and desperate Justin Bieber accepted an offer from an Indian couple to do their gig for $10 million to keep up with Hailey Bieber's excessive spending. I mean, that's stupid. You offer me $10 million to come sing at your wedding, I will be there. I will learn to sing for $10 million. I will sound like Aretha Franklin. You offer me $10 million to come sing at your wedding. But you get the point. It was all of these attacks, and I was reading through it and trying to find the source of it. And there was a long piece done in the Daily Mail. And when I read it, I went, oh, no. this is an intentionally sought after hit on Justin Bieber because he is trying to leave Hollywood. Now, you'll remember we have been covering Justin Bieber because when I read about Diddy and the ring that the producer is alleging that he runs of blackmail, I vividly recalled a clip which then went viral on the web because people were going, wait a second, remember when Justin Bieber was really young and Diddy was like, hey, pick up my phone calls and like, we want to get you to a party, and Bieber looked super innocent, and then he kind of went into like a party phase. And now that we know what Diddy has been up to, and I'm pretty convinced he's a Fed, I think that he gets blackmail on various artists, and that was what was heavily implied in the lawsuit because he has cameras everywhere and he catches them doing things that they would not want out in the public, whether that's drugs, whether that's sex acts, homosexual sex acts. I think Cat Williams spoke to the fact that they try to get you to party if you're a guy and giving you drugs to make you perhaps more open to that. And then once they have you on film doing something like that, then they control you. So that would be a blackmail ring, not unlike the Jeffrey Epstein blackmail ring. And so I was paying attention to the fact that it seemed very obvious that I'm talking about Justin Bieber now, got off of drugs when he met Hailey Bieber, and it seemed like it was just his whole life had turned around. He was no longer hanging with the same people. He was no longer clubbing. He was no longer drinking. He was having a lot of breakdowns. You saw him crying like outside of church, and he was much more emotional. And I think that sort of came naturally with his sobriety, is like the recognition of the things that he had potentially done. Here's a photo right there. And she was there with him the entire time. And I really do think it was him having a reckoning of the evils of Hollywood. Again, this is my opinion, but I just remember him having a lot of these sort of breakdowns and people didn't know what was causing him to be so emotional in public. And then he and Hailey Bieber got engaged. I believe that was in 2018. And he went through this incredible journey through faith. And I would say that he fully decided to turn away from Hollywood. They got married in September of 2019, and he hasn't been the same Justin Bieber. And it was actually this little tidbit in the Daily Mail that made me realize that Hollywood wants him back, right? Because he cashed out. This is an unknown thing. Justin Bieber cashed out. So in this ridiculous article where they say, quote, he's isolated from his friends and family. He's miserable right now as Hailey has taken complete control over him. He has lost his identity, creative drive, and he is uninspired, meaning he's not making music for you guys, not being a slave to the industry. Then in January of 2023, there was another shock. Bieber announced that he was selling the rights to his entire 291 song back catalog. The music investment company reportedly bought Bieber's life work for $200 million. In exchange, he no longer receives royalties on any of the tracks that he's released. And I think that right there is at the nucleus of why they are attacking him. I think Justin Bieber knows a lot about Hollywood. I think he understands or knows more about the more sinister side of Hollywood, which I have been remarking on, having read Hollywood Babylon, and now I've just embarked on reading Hollywood Babylon 2 and realizing that it's always been a ring. Pedophilia has always been involved. Intentionally getting artists on drugs has always been one component of it as well. So Justin Bieber would be someone who would be able to speak to this. And so he's a problem for the state. I do believe that the CIA is running Hollywood. I believe CIA is formerly a gang that then got their foot into our government. I have said this openly and been attacked for it, but it is the only thing that makes sense. And I believe that they cannot have a person that decides to get married and decides to get sober and knows about what happens in Hollywood. And so pay attention to what is happening to Justin Bieber, because these attacks against him and his wife, when he's finally got his life together, doesn't make any sense. I don't really think he's running out of money in any regard whatsoever. I think that what's actually happening is he simply wants to be left alone. And so I wanted to congratulate them on the birth of their child and also encourage them to stick to their family and stick to faith, and to, if he is willing to, one day have the courage to speak out, because I think that a lot of people are speaking out right now and a lot is being exposed. All right, guys, I do want to take a brief pause now to thank another ad. Actually, you guys have been asking me about my skincare routine, and I promise you, I'm actually going to post something on Instagram and take you through the steps, because I absolutely love Nimi, and this episode is sponsored by Nimi Skincare. They're my favorite brand. They've come to be known as America's skincare company because they formulate and manufacture all of their skincare products in the USA while supporting pro-America causes and organizations. Nimi has everything you need to build an awesome daily skincare regimen to cleanse, brighten, protect, and help fight the key signs of aging. Another reason I love them is that they are a Christian-led company that stands firm in their values of faith, family, and freedom. You can sign up right now at nimiskincare.com for a subscription to save 15% on your routine and save an additional 5% using code Candace at checkout. Plus, you'll receive a free gift on every third order. So if you're not sure where to start, you can take their skincare quiz to find the perfect routine for your skin type. That's NIMI skincare.com. And the promo code to use at checkout is Candace. All right, Brittany Mahomes is under fire because she liked a Trump post. It's like a thing right now, I guess. You gotta love Hollywood, right? They're like, we're so accepting. We just love everybody. Love is love, love, love. Let somebody like a post, like which they're allowed to do because it's an election and you are not required to vote one way or the other. And that's what Brittany Mahomes did. She sure stepped in it. She apparently liked a Trump post. This is the post that she liked and has since unliked because she has received so much heat for it. Now, to be clear, if you're not familiar with Brittany Mahomes, she is the wife of Kansas City Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes. And like I said, she did the unthinkable by liking a post that highlighted the Republican Party platform, which included deporting pro-Hamas radicals and keeping men out of women's sports. So she liked this post. I think she just said, hey, I agree with maybe not all, maybe some, maybe a few of these policy points. Given the fact that she's from the South, this certainly doesn't stress me out or shock me. But, you know, people that live in the bubbles, like on the coast, really do believe that everybody thinks like them. They just can't imagine. Or they think people in the South are all backwards and all racist. So I guess they were shocked by this. And one user wrote, Brittany Mahomes just outed herself as a Trump supporter. Like, gosh, what are we going to do with her? Another user wrote, Patrick Mahomes, imagine marrying someone who doesn't care about your rights and your kids' rights. Brittany Mahomes agreeing with Project 2025, but married to a black man with mixed kids is insane. Man, I wish I had found that post, like just be able to source it and respond to the person, because of course, everyone who freaks out about Project 2025, they're just bots, right? They are the people that truly believe everything that they watch on MSNBC. If you said, hey, what specifically do you not like about Project 2025? They wouldn't be able to tell you. They've never read the document. These are the people that are so remarkably programmed that their media, that MSNBC, that CNN, they have lied to them consistently for years. And they just cannot imagine that they are lying to them again. They're like, okay, I know they lied about COVID. I know they lied about, Trump and said that he was going to put us back in slave chains. But actually, I was living great under him and the economy was doing well. I know they lied and they told me that Russia interfered in our election and that was proven false after 2 years of saying it. But I really feel like this time about Project 2025 are telling me the truth, and that no, Trump's really going to do it. He's going to enslave people. And so she should be concerned because she has mixed kids. These are, I promise you, they are the densest citizens in the entire world. And I really do not mean to offend, but it just, to me, defies every bit of logic when you've already had Trump as president, to allow yourself to again be subjugated to the exact same media manufactured smears and lies. Like, they are currently living through a Kamala vice presidency and they think she's going to fix things. She's like, when I get in office, you are in office. What do you mean when I get you are in office? I'm going to fix this mess. You mean the mess that you could currently fix right now? Why wait? Why don't you just do that right now? And I don't know, they just believe it because all they have to do is make an invisible ghost, and they've made up Project 2025 and they all start repeating it, and they just become that experiment that I told you about in the CIA, where if you say it enough times, there are people that believe that it is true, and they believe that Project 2025 is something to be fearful of, and they can't even explain it to you. If you want to really test yourself, and if you're watching the show and you're like a closeted conservative and your lib friend is like, Project 2025, be like, hey, what's actually in that? And then I go, oh, come on. It's like, it's really bad. It is gonna, he's gonna put us back, and women are gonna be handsmaid tale or something. That's it. That's all they've got. They got absolutely nothing but fear to sell. And every single year, every 4 years especially, there is always a buyer on the left. It is ridiculous. Speaking of ridiculous, I wanted to very quickly give an honorable mention here. I know last week you covered a very serious thing that happened. Obviously, there was a non-kosher pizza sent to Rabbi Shmuley's daughter, and so he called the FBI on me, right? And because it was a Hawaiian pizza and it wasn't kosher, and of course, when you see a Hawaiian pizza and it's not kosher and it arrives at your door, your first thought process should be, darn you, Candace Owens, or something. But it doesn't stop there, because he's not done with me, okay? He has just announced to his followers that he's gonna sue the crap out of me. I don't know if it's about the pizza or what it's about, but here's what he tweeted. I'll read it verbatim. We are currently in conversations with top libel and defamation attorneys across the United States, choosing the right man or woman to sue arch anti-Semite at Real Candace O. Candace Owens, seen here with her former employer. Help us stop the incitement to violence being fulminated by America's foremost Jew hater. Write immediately to info@shmuley.com. I just wanted to throw that up in case you did want to write immediately to him because you do understand the threats of Hawaiian pizzas, or maybe just to ask him, generally speaking, what are you suing her for? Like, what is this? How are you going to, what lawyers are taking this case? I don't know. If you guys find out any answers, let me know. I just wanted to bring it to your attention because maybe he's raising money. I don't know what he's doing there, but he's doing something. All right, guys, before I read your comments and jump into this chat, see what you guys are saying, I want to thank our sponsors and remind you guys about American financing, because I know that right now in this economic climate which Kamala could help fix, but she's going to wait until she's president next year to start fixing it. Tons of people are stressed out because the monthly income is not seeming to cover the bills anymore. And there are a lot of Americans who are feeling that everything is getting more and more expensive. People are reaching more and more for their credit cards to cover basic costs like childcare, insurance, power, food. It is tough. And if you're feeling this way, you should call American Financing. They're helping hardworking Americans just like you tap into their home's equity line to pay off their high interest debt and even create some additional savings to be ready for whatever life throws your way. With interest rates finally dropping, a company like American Financing that never charges any upfront or hidden fees is the perfect partner to help you get into a better financial position. Their consultants are saving homeowners an average of $800 a month. Waiting is not an option, so please call 800-795-1210. Again, that's 800-795-1210, or you can visit americanfinancing.net/Owens. All right, let's get into some of your comments. This one says, Shmuley behaves like a schmuck. I think is that Yiddish? This person says, the rabbi and his daughter have a really super weird relationship. It is so creepy and cringe. Hi, Jacobira. He writes, hi, Candace, great show. And this person says the system isn't going to recover. It is a dead horse. This person says, Candace, I love your humor. I'm going to jump in now and read some of the super chats that some of you guys paid to be able to ask me a question. Baptist writes, here we go again with the government suppressing free speech. We need God and Trump in our world today. And we truly do need people to return to faith, because that's what it's all about. You know, I gave a speech at a Catholic conference over the weekend, and I realized that that's the big thing. Once you truly understand what's happening, you realize it is not about even politics. It's not even about one figure. It's always been about a battle of good versus evil, God versus Satan. And you just got to decide what team you're on. And clearly Pavel Durov made a decision. He decided what team he is on, and he is now being persecuted for it. Tom VTV writes, hey, Candace, please consider looking into Alice Kisaya, a Christian Palestinian living near Bethlehem that just got arrested by Israel for defending her land. I will take a look into it. My producer writes that recent reports say that she was arrested after protesting Israel taking her family's land near Bethlehem. I would certainly look into that story. Discovery Outdoors writes, it's time for United States citizens to remove control from the government and shut down brainwashing media whose only aim is to divide us. Yes, the media is a part of the gang. That's very obvious. As soon as somebody starts speaking about freedom, as soon as somebody starts pointing to the gang, I mean, quite literally, I faced the most malevolent attacks last week because I pointed out the fact that Leo Frank, a convicted pedophile, is a pedophile. And I wouldn't stay quiet on that. I don't care how much power the ADL has. You're not going to be able to use the smear of anti-Semitism to get me as a mother to 3 young children to shut up. It just doesn't work for me. You got to pick your battles. And I feel like fighting sadistic pedophiles might be mine. Like I'm very comfortable with that hill. If that's the one I have to die on, you know. Discovery Outdoors. I'm sorry, you just read that one. JD the Beast writes, Candace, you are a brilliant speaker. I know you said you don't care about running for office for now, but I can easily see you as Trump's press secretary. Yeah, you know, for me, I just am not sure how much is actually changed in government. You know, we need a radical transformation. And I think the only way things are going to change is if we change people's hearts and change people's minds. And just seeing the amount of people who write to me and say, hey, Candace, like I've completely changed my perspectives after listening to your podcast, or people that are brought onto this platform and see the world for what it is. I think I'm making a more severe impression by just speaking to the public. Tanaxa writes, take care, Candace. If you push this, I am afraid it's your turn. They will accuse you of human trafficking and child porn and pedo and drug smuggling. Yes. Yeah, they've already done the smears. Like once you collect them all, like I've been racist, transphobe, anti-Semitic, Holocaust denier. And so now they've got to move in and they got to come after me for something criminal, like taxes, like they're going to lock me up for taxes or something. I don't know if people are going to buy the child pornography pedo stuff, maybe aiding and abetting, complicit. They like complicit now. We will see, but I am definitely on their list. Obviously, you can just tell by the way the media covers anything that I say. The Deron Williams show writes, this case is proof that the real war is between citizens and the government, all of them. Yes, I agree. I believe governance is now unnatural when it gets to this size. I think that we should all be living in our little communities and just completely avoiding the government at all costs. You know what I mean? We should be farming, we should be going to a farmer's market, and we should be trading with one another. That's how that should be working. This person writes, hoping all y'all contribute in your own way, whatever you can. Freedom and independent expression doesn't pay without support. My pitch to keep you from big corp and tech. I ain't going back to corporations or big tech, anything like that. I'm completely done with it. Like I said, once I've looked up close, once I saw it up close, what it is that we're actually fighting, I made my decision. I've made my bed, and I'm very happy to lie in it. I'm going to be fighting for freedom, whatever the cost. Sarah Thabata writes, thank you, Candace. You are a mighty warrior in God's army. Expose the lies. We are with you. Thank you. Mind Your Eyes writes, do you regret going to Jerusalem for Israel's capital change in 2017? I am all Trump, but I hardly agree with the Israeli government. I severely regret having ever supported Bibi Netanyahu in any capacity. I think that he is problematic, and I think that if I had ever seen those videos, which I saw thereafter, of him speaking about and to America like a thug, like a gangster, like I've got them under control, I will pass laws, and anybody who speaks against me, I would have never. I mean, how could I ever look you guys in the face and say that I'm an American first patriot while tailing between the legs, knowing that this guy speaks about America in that way? I couldn't do it. But I think some people are just able to. Like, some people just don't care. They can be fake, and they can say one thing and behave in a different way, or try to, I guess, carve out some extraordinary lane where, okay, I agree that it's America first, unless, and I just suffer from realness. Truly, when Kanye West wrote a song and he said, I suffer from realness, I felt that. I was like, yeah, if I could just be less real, I would suffer less. I don't know. We'll see. Lastly, Alan Paulson writes, Rabbi Shmuley is a poisonous snake. He is, but I can't look away. I'm not above it. I cannot look away. I can't. All right, guys, we are going to wrap this up and remind you to head to clubcandace.com if you want to support the show, support our independent. You can get a Don't Care Built Different. Like I said, we put them back in stock last week. You can also head to locals.com, give whatever you can, even if it's just $5 for the whole year. This is what keeps us free. It allows me to keep saying what I say until they say I can't anymore and lock me up and accuse me of human child sex trafficking, pedophilia, pornography, and say that they're doing it all to protect freedoms of Americans and people worldwide, when in reality they're a gang, they're gangsters, and they are the pedophiles and the human sex traffickers, and I hate them all. I'll see you guys tomorrow.